South Africa's very first book fair for independently published authors and publishers was held at the Sunnyside Park Hotel in Johannesburg at the beginning of 2015.
We are thrilled to be hosting our very first Indie Book Fair for South Africa.
The 2015 Indie Book Fair was held with the main objective of beginning a dialogue that promotes South African literature through celebrating independent writing, publishing and distribution. African Narratives, organisers of the fair, is a not-for-profit, membership-based entity committed to the development of a thriving local literature. Present throughout the two-day event were many publishers, educators, authors and industry professionals who partook in addressing many of the issues relating to independent publishing in South Africa. The current monopolies that dominate South African publishing and book retailing were discussed in detail, as well as the need for alternative methods for publishing that democratize and empower a larger base of South African authors.
The rise of the independent publisher in this current time of electronic publishing really creates new opportunities and challenges because the world has changed. Publishers are a disappearing species.
Independent publishers are seeing another way. A way of engagement with society and communities and methods that reflect something important about their locale or the niche they inhabit.
A plethora of interesting and important conversations were had over the two-day affair, including David Harrison's talk on literature and social development, Shafinaz Hassim's talk on the small voice returns, and Richard Bainen's on the struggle for quality. The fair helped to elevate independent books from the quagmire of vanity publishing.
Mainstream publishers are often risk-averse. They like homogenous publishing. Big publishers embrace publishing trends, and authors are always restricted exactly in what they're allowed to write. Books that have smaller or niche audiences, or that can't be classified easily, are the kind of books that mainstream publishers are simply never going to be interested in.
Independent publishing produces books that easily match the quality and interest of the commercial publishing conglomerates.
Self-publishing is becoming an increasingly obvious choice for authors seeking to publish their own work, especially those authors who may have been marginalised in the past. The ability or desire to self-publish is no longer restricted to those who have the money to do so.
Independent publishing democratizes the production of literature and allows even the smallest voices to be heard.
The freedom that indie authors now have to market and price their own books has allowed them to dominate the digital marketplace for the last 3 years. If publishers are producing books that don't reflect the society we live in, surely they'll become increasingly redundant.
African Narratives, or AFNA, believes that the technology underpinning the independent publishing revolution is the perfect vehicle for grassroots publishing in the developing world. For this reason, the independent publishing movement should be supported and fostered in South Africa, particularly among the marginalized. AFNA offers its members increasing lobbying power for independent writers and publishers. NQF-rated training for writers, small publishers and book retailers. Subsidized publishing where authors commit to community distribution. And effective distribution systems, traditional and new. A direct result of the fair has been the establishment of a partnership between AFNA and the Bookshop Association of South Africa, which represents 120 black-owned SME bookshops operating across the country. Nearly 50 independent writers and publishers became African Narratives founding members at the fair. African Narratives would like to thank all those that supported the 2015 Indie Book Fair, all those that made the fair the success that it was. Everywhere, the posters showed porcupine quills hitting a target. The Indie Book Fair, first of its kind in South Africa, did just that. Call it the new wave. Call it what you will. It's here to stay. Now there's an annual special event to celebrate independent publishing and increase the representation of every literary voice in South Africa. Please join us next year as we continue this imperative discussion at the 2016 Indie Book Fair. We plan to use the momentum gained at this, the first fair, and continue to grow and expand. We owe it to South Africa's writers and small publishers. We owe it to South African literature, to the culture of reading, and even to the development of a desire for lifelong learning. It's imperative that we keep hitting the target.